Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for joining me today. I have a special flip through to share with you. It is my design team project for Cassie at Dusty Roses, and so you can follow the hashtag. Well, you can follow her first of all, if you don't already, but I doubt that. Here is her Instagram. And you can follow this hashtag here to see all the coming up Dusty Roses design team projects. And so this one is for the month of April, and it is a sewing theme journal. And here you can see I used 5 kits of her shop, and these are called Antiquité 1 and 2. Rich neutrals, engravings, and 1920s fashion illustration. So you have the paper here. You can pause the video and check these bundles out in her Etsy shop, and I will of course link all links down below. You can also use a coupon for 10% off any digital that you choose. And it is Crafty Paper Bits 10. So yeah, I'm just going to start right away because this thing is huge. I think it's the chunkiest journal I've ever created, and it is a sewing theme, as I said. And I used mainly some vintage goodies that I have in my own collection, and also I found this kit, the 1920s fashion illustration, was so handy, and I loved using this one, highlight this one in particular in this journal. And I just want to say, because of the size of this of the book, I instead of crafting every single images from the kits, I kind of let them speak for themselves, and just leave, maybe print them out into some different types of papers, but mainly I just tuck the images into, throughout the journal, and let the beautiful image speak for itself. But you'll see what I mean in a minute. So it has 5 signatures. The cover is it's a book cover that I repurposed, and I just covered it with some wallpaper. This one is vintage, it's embossed, and it's beautiful. I will have some for sale tonight, actually, later today at my shop account. And here I use some, this is some linen fabric I kind of use several layers of fabrics here to reinforce the spine. And then I have added some beautiful upholstery fabric here. And these are vintage buttons. They're all vintage. The colors of this journal, I tried to keep it as neutral as possible. It's not really something I do very often. Well, never actually. But I really wanted to try something different and use different kits. And step away a little from the floral kits, because they're gorgeous, but I tend to use them again and again, and I just wanted to try something different this time. So lots of neutrals and a little bit of touches of yellows and oranges throughout as well. When you open this thing up, you have the inside here. I just collaged a little bit, but I decided to leave it kind of blank so you can decide what to do on this page. And there's a lot of, the reason why it's so chunky, because there are some plenty of ephemera throughout, but also the things, I've tucked a lot of things in between pages that are removable. So this is the first piece that is removable, but I thought I would put this one in the front of the journal, because here it says table of content, and so you can write what you want to, how you want to divide maybe your journal, the chapters. And so this is something I'm doing quite often now. It's just taking 2 pieces of book page or magazine pages of different sizes, and then I just stitched here to make it a little, you know, pocket tuck spot thingy. And so inside I just added a few things. And the first thing is this printable from Cassie. It's from one of her Antiquité kit. I think it's the number 1, if I'm not mistaken. And I just want to say there are a few people who inspired me daily and also for this journal. And I'm going to link them down below. I think it's important to mention them. The first is Maria from J'adore le papier. She did once a beautiful sort of like castle made out of fabrics, and this thing she did was after watching one of Heather at Ruby and Pearl's tutorial. So I will link both channels, although I think you guys know both. But this is inspired of that. She has this house printable, and then I just did some collages, added some scraps of fabrics, of lace, even have a little scrap of leather here, and I stitched the buttons and the leather. And this is just a decorative piece. I also tucked this beautiful women's magazine page. So that goes in here. So this was the magazine page. It was already like this, and I like that it is a picture. I just added a label and some, this is a piece from an embroidery magazine. You will have a lot of space, like a journaling space. I did make a lot of handmade journaling cards. Like, for example, these things were initially some vintage collectible Dutch postcard, like from Liebig company. And I didn't like the images, so I just added some papers on the back so you can collage on top or write. And here's a tuck spot there and a beautiful antique postcard. Some die cuts, stickers. It has, as I said, it is a sewing theme journal, but there are some things that are not sewing related, but I just wanted to put as much ephemera and yeah, as possible, I guess. Like, for example, I have this piece here, which is a photograph from a book. I think, you know, it gives, with the 3 papers here and the buildings like this, it creates like a sort of layering, and with Cassie's digital in the back, and I love that, and that's why I put this specific image. And so, I use some handmade paper as well, and you have some little collage details here and there. This is a tuck spot, and inside you have an actual negative, I don't know how you call that, photograph thingy. There's a piece of leather. This is also leather, and you can journal on the back. This was a book page that I thought was interesting because it has those handwriting on the back. And this is a printable. This is a digital image from Cassie, and I just backed it with some paper scraps, added some lace, so you can journal on the back. Love these roses. And this is an antique piece of ephemera. Next we have the first piece, like large printable that I didn't want to craft, cut apart and craft into tags or things like that. I just wanted to showcase it. I did add some rose petals that I pressed. I just want to say this is from the 1920s Fashion Illustration, and this is a collab with Poso Love. And these pictures, like some of these are, they have a little bit of colors to them, not so much. It's like yellows and maybe pinks and oranges, But some I did print in colors, and some I decided to print black and white. For example, this one, I believe it had colors, and I just decided to print it black and white so it would fit the overall aesthetic of the journal. And so this, again, you can remove. You have another piece, another removable piece, and this is like a real hand marbled paper. Came from a ledger, and I love the colors. I think it fits the journal well. Here's a handmade journaling card. This is an embroidery picture, and I added some antique handmade lace. There's a bit of collage here. I stamped onto some, how do you call that, tissue paper. A piece of an embroideries magazine. I added this postcard. This one is vintage. It's not antique, but I like the look of this lady and the cat, of course. And I thought it went well. So it's a sewing, but also, I forgot to mention, it's also a bit of fashion. There's some vintage stamps, a little bit of collage, some buttons, and for the pages I also used some vintage French papers. I did some handmade journaling cards out of some book images that I cut out. This is some vintage seam binding. This is the second image. I love this one so much. It's from the Antiquité 1, I believe, and this one I printed it on some typewriting paper. This thing is so big. So I did a little bit of collages here and there to add some interest. There are some handmade cards made out of scrap papers, and also illustration from an antique women's magazine. These are some other handmade cards, and these are initially postcards that I didn't like the image of, so I just covered them and did some collages. Yeah, some ledger page. This is a book image of costumes from Paris. This is a bundle of goodies here, and another image from Cassie's Digital. And as you can see here, I printed it with the original colors, so it had a little bit of orange, but not too bright, and this is what I love about these printables as well. And so this one I also printed on some typing paper. And just a bundle of little things, like this postcard album holder page. This is an image that I cut out. It looks like a French ephemera, and then there are some, bits and pieces. This is a charm. This is an envelope that I have some paper goodies inside, but it's an envelope that I altered, like I embellished, I mean, and photograph, vintage photograph. Another piece that is removable, but on the back I added this dried flower from my garden. And here I just added some journaling space. So this was a book page and it was kind of boring, so I added this piece here, and you can journal on both sides. And inside I actually tucked a few pages from like a grandma like recipes book, kind of. So it goes in here. That is a beautiful image that I cut out from the Antiquité 2. In this kit you will find some beautiful butterflies with oranges and yellows. We have some vintage wallpaper, and this is another printable that I actually printed onto some antique like letter copy, French letter copy book page, and these are dated from 1840s, so it's, I don't know, it's just stunning. And I did take a piece that was like, that had not too much handwriting, so you can also write. This is just a cutout from a magazine and some handmade journaling cards. Some handmade paper I did ages ago. Just some bits and pieces. This is a handmade journaling card, and this idea I got from Cynthia, and I will put her YouTube channel down below as well. This is a handmade paper. I stitched some antique lace, some fabric trim, and I added a little sticker here. We have some cutouts, some handmade journaling card. This one was initially a collage board that I cut out in 2 pieces, added some gesso, and actually I don't know if you can see, I added a dried flower again here. And this one, this is a sticker on top. Here you have a printable from Cassie. Just added this little paper note, but you can remove it. But these are images. Again, you can cut these out and, you know, put them throughout the journal. So that, I believe, is from the rich neutrals here. This is a handmade journaling card with a pretty image. This is an antique, oh, I don't know the name in English, but I added some brass buttons here. And here you have a little journaling space. I added some leather and some vintage pieces. These are vintage, authentic vintage. Some vintage paper as well. This is a printable from, which kit is that? I'm not sure. It might be from Rich Neutral, and I added some pieces here, book illustration, different French labels, vintage labels, and this is also a vintage lace trim. Here, this is stitched, so this stereograph is stitched onto the page with this book page, and I added some beautiful fabric trim. This is a tuck, and this is a tuck as well. Inside here, well, you have those 2 vintage ticket strips, and this is a handmade journaling card. Stamping, journaling space, not here, but here. I did add a few trim pieces throughout the journal. So this one is kind of brown. This page is handmade paper, and I just did a little bit of kind of a collage thing. You can write some things you want to hide in here. And then you have this little clip, and I added these things. This is a printable from Cassie, the Rich Neutrals. And this is a coaster, actually. You can remove that and use as a collage piece if you'd like to. This is from an antique, like, wallpaper sampling book. And here are some other like handmade journaling card. Second signature. This is a piece of Mon Ouvrage. Beautiful design. And I just added this pretty image here. Some dried flower sticker. This is a printable from Cassie, and this one actually I didn't mention on the paper. I didn't write it, but these are postcards, floral postcards, and I printed them. I printed 2 or 3, I don't remember, but in black and white to fit the theme. Here we have a piece of trim and a handmade journaling card with some authentic, like, old tape. This is a part of a authentic antique sample sample card. Sorry, I really have a hard time speaking today. But yeah, you know what I mean. And this is some vintage seam binding, some vintage wallpaper. This you can remove. This is a little pouch. I got this in a Happy Mail and I thought it was so pretty. I wanted to include it in here. So there are some buttons in here. I'm actually gonna show you. I believe there are more than 10, like, I don't know, a dozen maybe. But here they are. And so you have some pretty buttons. And yeah, all vintage. Just some collaged ephemera. There's some stamping. Yeah, I used a lot of scraps as well throughout, and labels, so you can add your notes. This page, oh my god. This is actually a poem, and this is a magazine page, and I thought she was very pretty, so, and this is like a floating pocket, and I just added some journaling space here, a label, a little bit of collaging, and sari. This is a part of that I thought was kind of cool because it has those photograph images. Have a little label, and this is a dried flower from my garden. Vintage ledger. Another illustration from Cassie's kit, and this one I just added some vintage lace. We have a collage page here with an antique postcard. This one is embossed, and we have little pieces that you can remove. These are advertisement from an antique French magazine. There are also some pictures, images, a black velvet trim that acts as a belly band, and I added a vintage envelope. It has this initial document inside, but I'm not gonna take it off. I used some vintage brads. These are authentic vintage, and I kind of stacked a few papers here. And you have also this piece of like magazine scrap. And this is one of the butterflies from the Antiquité kit that I fussy cut out. This is a removable piece. It's like a photo album page, and it has this beautiful design as a, you know, a paper protector. Yeah, some illustration, ephemera, journaling space with some collages. Again, journaling space also here, and you have some pretty floral illustration. And inside this little bag, I stamped it and I put a few stickers. These are dried flower stickers, so you can use them throughout your journal. Another big removable piece and a few collages on the page. This is also a pocket, a floating pocket, and this design is from Cassie. I just added this vintage envelope, and on this side I just added a few pieces of ephemera and did some stamping and collaging. So there's a button cards and some thread cards as well. And I tried to, I wanted the colors to fit the theme, so they're mainly, neutrals and yellows, oranges, and, these types of colors. This is another printable from Cassie. This is also from the 1920s fashion illustrations. So this one, I believe, had colors, and I just printed that one black and white. Handmade paper. Then on this side, I tucked a few papers. I'm not going to remove everything, but There are some random piece of papers that I collaged on. I don't know why I did that. I just thought it was pretty. So this is an end paper and had a nice yellow color. An exercise book page. This is another postcard from Cassie that I printed black and white. Another piece from the 1920s fashion illustration, and this one I printed onto this vintage document. And actually these staples are also original to the documents. And so I know it's not a good idea, but it was so flat that I did try to put this in the printer and it worked out well. So but it's not something I would recommend. It's not a good idea. But I love how it turned out. I love the design here, and I love that you can see behind the authentic ephemera. I just added this beautiful trim. This is, I believe it's vintage, but maybe nearly antique. And you have some business documents, I guess, on the back. A little bit of collage here. We have some artwork stickers. And this is one of the butterflies from the Antiquité 2, I believe. A removable piece with some, fashion illustration from a magazine. We have a little tuck spot here. I added some trim, some calendar page you can write on. This is a printable from the Rich Neutrals. This is one of the already made tag from the Antiquité. Yeah, I did some die cuts with some Tim Holtz dies. And here we have a little bit of collaging, and I added some journaling space. This is a vintage, trim card. And I love the colors of this one. And you can feel it's like it's really old. I love that. A little bit of collage here, and this is from a magazine, and I love the colors. I thought it went so well with the journal, so I added this one. It's actually a plate, so that's fun. We have a poem on the back. Yeah, this is just a label. You can take it off and put it somewhere else if you'd like to. This is a printable from Cassie's Rich Neutrals, and we have a little illustration here and some vintage button card. And I actually believe this was sent to me in a Happy Mail by Cassie, so that's perfect in here. I added a trim piece. This thing I love because this is a real, it's an authentic, vintage bag from this store that is no longer, that doesn't exist anymore. So, but I know this, so it's really fun to see that. And inside you have, when I found this, there were these pieces inside originally. So you have some nice, textured paper, and everything is authentic and vintage. So I love that. And I just attached a few pieces here. These you have some, I have no idea how you call that in English. Please let me know. There's that, and a thread card, a little ticket. And then we have this little thing. It's just a few illustrations of flowers. And yeah, you can remove them again and use them throughout. And this is the third signature. And I believe we're over half an hour now, but sorry. I hope you do enjoy the flip through, although it's long. Let me know. This is some vintage, beautiful document that was written onto some tissue paper. And then we have another book calendar page and a handmade journaling card with a sticker on it. This is again this velvet trim. onto some handmade paper. I have some handmade paper. This is a printable from the Rich Neutrals. This is a telegram, obviously, and I printed it onto some vintage document. Onto this page we have, this is a random thing, but I don't like to throw like these things away because, you know, it's vintage, and this was part of a box of these letters corners thingy. And I don't know, I mean, you could clip that somewhere and make a tuck spot, or this is an antique postcard. We have a scrap pocket here, and inside there's just a very simple journaling card. Sorry trim. This one is a vintage piece. It's beautiful bright yellow. We have another beautiful printable from Cassie's Antiquité 1. And again, didn't want to craft that. I just want to leave it as is because it's so pretty. Here you have some labels, and I added some little tiny flowers, dried flowers here on the label. You can remove both. This is an antique, maybe vintage ledger page. A doily here with a sticker, a bird illustration. We have the bird here on the back as well, and some vintage railroad, yeah, tickets. We have some bus tickets, seam binding, vintage music sheet, another removable kind of floating pocket. This one is more like a tuck. So this is a French ephemera vintage, and I just added, again, not throwing anything away. I was done using some embroidery floss, I believe it's called, and I just stapled the packaging. It's not packaging, but you know, the thing that it comes in. This is a printable from the Rich Neutrals. We have some French ephemera and a piece of vintage wallpaper. Some image, journaling space. This is another journaling card that I made. I used this book page. I kind of liked the image that it had, so I just added a few pieces so you can journal on it. We have an authentic antique trim card. And this is a page, I believe, a whole page, maybe? Yeah, that I folded from this antique magazine called La Famille, The Family. And you have those beautiful advertisements on the back. Bit of stickers here and collage. This is a book illustration. And we have an envelope, vintage envelope here that I glued onto the page, and I added some. You can actually put some things on the back of the envelope as well. We have authentic pieces of ephemera, and yeah, a little tag. Well, actually there are two, and some like trim. This one is antique. A tuck spot here, I added some wallpaper and some advertisement and journaling space with a little bit of collage. An artwork sticker, journaling space. This page is a bit random, but I like the colors. So here you have some buttons, some metal buttons. You have a little booklet with some photographs. These are authentic, and I believe you have, yeah, okay, you have 6. On this side, we have a little tuck spot here with an authentic letter and some removable pieces. This is actually a printable as well from the Rich Neutral, I believe. And another piece that you can remove, it's a label. Beautiful bird image, a little bit of collage and writing space. The other side of this doily. Here we have another piece of vintage trim. This one has a nice yellow color to it. I had to pause the video because this morning I received an order that I placed from an Etsy seller, and I received those little charms, and so I just decided to add one here. And we have a little tuck here, and I added this beautiful kind of fashion image, and this is a printable from Cassie that I printed onto some typewriting paper, that's what I meant, and it is from the rich neutrals, sorry, a little bit of wallpaper scrap here, and I added this gorgeous cover from an antique embroideries magazine that is called Mon Ouvrage. So, well, it's nearly antique, it's from 1923, but look at this image. It is so beautiful, and on the other side it also has this pretty illustration. So there's that. Here I just added this printable. I actually put the image onto some postcard that I didn't like the image of, and this is a printable from the Rich Neutrals, and on this side I think it's the 4th signature, so almost to the end. Again, I'm so sorry about the length of the video. Yeah, anyways, so we have another trim here. Here I just clipped some antique thread card. This is really beautiful one, and it's a good condition. I also added this botanical illustration that I thought was really pretty. It's black orchid. That's the name of the artwork. And we have, so that's the beginning of the 4th signature, and we have, I added a floating kind of tuck spot here, made out of, 2 pages again. And there's a little tab here. I like to do these little ephemera tuck. I recycled some, some card holder booklets, and I stitch them together and creates these little tucks. And we have a sticker here for your collage, and this is a piece of ephemera, a French ephemera dated from 1923. It's for insurance, and there's another piece of 1920s fashion illustration from Cassie's and Sharika's Postal Love digital kit. Oh, actually we have another image from the Antiquité. I think it's number 2, this one. Or maybe it's number 1, sorry about that. But this is an image that I just glued here with a piece of doily, paper doily, and some handmade paper, a few authentic pieces of ephemera, that I thought the colors went well in this journal. This, I found it as is with this little pin here, so I just left it as is. And so you can, take these things apart and then just collage with this. It's a pattern, so this pattern paper, dried rose petals. This is a little piece that you can remove, and we have, this is an old advertisement. There's little image here that I made into a journaling card, I believe. Yeah, I backed it with some piano roll paper. And we have an antique and gorgeous applique, embroidered applique, and it's handmade. And I just stitched 2 mother of pearl buttons on this trim, but you can remove that. That's no problem. Some vintage ledger page from the 40s, a little bit of collage with some sewing pattern paper. This is a little tuck spot made out of the wallpaper, and we have a postcard. Here I made a little like tuck for Cassie's already made tags, and so you have all the designs here and you can just take them apart and use them throughout. I clipped some images here, a bit of collage here with some vintage stamps, some little note paper, a label. This is a dried flower. I love the colors. It's pretty, I think. There's a little tuck here. I attached some notes, papers, and then underneath you have a bit of vintage sewing pattern for your collaging sessions. This was part of a vintage woman's magazine, and I love the fact that it looks like little samples of fabrics. So you can actually, I didn't glue that down, so you can actually cut these squares out and maybe collage or create some, you know, simple sample cards. A beautiful plate here with some collages. I think this piece I glued onto the page, and then we have some ephemera pieces here. Another trim, this one is orange, and what do we have here? A little bit of collaging here, some stickers. There's a vintage label and another journaling card here. And then on this page, okay, so there's a little page here to which I glued some vintage crochet lace. We have some vintage ephemera and postcard. And then underneath I tucked another page from this women's fashion magazine from the 40s, 50s. We have, this is a handmade paper that I stitched to the page, and yeah, you have some label to which you can add notes. An antique, I believe this one is antique, piece of ephemera that's handwritten. And here is one of Cassie's digital. It's from the Engravings. Another floating piece. This is from a vintage magazine, and this is like a hair product advertisement. And we have a little, again, pocket with some book pages taken from different books. Here I just glued some tickets and stickers and a little bit of, this is actually antique lace, so it's a very beautiful piece. Folder type of cardstock paper, you know, and I like the bright yellow here. Fashion's illustration, and we have an antique postcard, a ticket, like actually a receipt that is dated from 1929, and I added some black trim here, but you can remove that so you can collage it into the journal. Handmade paper. This one I just glued on the bottom, I mean, and you can either glue it down or you could like remove it. If you do it gently, I don't think you will break it, but yeah, so that's an engraving from an antique magazine. So more handmade paper, and this is the fifth and last signature. This is a pattern, a sewing pattern. You can see there's the original piece inside. It's actually quite nice. There's some nice scripts, so you can have a play with that. This is a short page here, so I just added these tickets to create a belly band, to which I added this. This is a vintage ledger page. This is a tuck spot, and I added this antique, beautiful floral postcard, and this is Ex Libris book label. So you can see it's kind of hard to go to the last pages, but that's because there are so many things tucked even in between the signatures. But when you remove these things, you can, the page, you will be able to see the last page. That's what I mean. I like the colors on this one, so I just added it here. These are some wallpaper samples, and these are authentic vintage, and they're not glued, so you can remove them and, you know, collage with them. And some bits and pieces, journaling page, some paper doily, and then I did some collages. These are little tuck spots to which I added some cutouts from an antique French magazines. These are actually little advertisement cutouts. Here we have the last, I believe, postcard from Cassie's kit, and this one is also printed in black and white. It doesn't come like this. It has beautiful bright colors, but I decided to print it black and white to fit the journal. This is an antique, I believe, if not vintage lace. It's a beautiful trim. And we have a few bits and pieces. This business document, this one is actually from the UK. Beautiful postcard. This is a page from the Femina antique French magazines. And I decided to put this one in the middle so you can see the whole image, which is gorgeous. The cutout from this magazine that is called La Famille. And yeah, going to the last page, we have a little tuck spot with some handmade ephemera, like handmade journaling cards with some recycled papers, and library index card, I believe it's called. This is the back of the journal. Here you can see I added a last removable piece, which is this book page, magazine page, this printable from Cassie's kit, Antiquité. And then we have one last label from her kit as well, and then an authentic Eau de Cologne label. That's it. I'm so sorry that this video is so long, but yeah, I don't know, there's no other way I can do this flip through because it's really the chunkiest book I've ever made. So, but I hope you still found it nice to watch and that you enjoy this journal anyways. So every kits will be linked down below. Don't forget to check out Cassie's shop, Etsy shop, Dust to Roses. This journal is for sale. I'm giving the information by message, so if you're interested, just send me a DM and I will answer to you immediately. So yeah, that's it. I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and I will see you in my next video. Bye bye.